Annyeong everybody, I am Chris Matrix. Today I'm going to answer one of the most asked questions I get from everybody, whether it be on Twitter, Facebook, text message, what have you. People are always asking me, when is the best time to switch heroes? So, in order to answer this, I'm going to go over three basic principles of when to switch. I will preface this with saying that I'm coming from a situation where I'm playing consistently with a full group of 5 people, including myself, but these situations can in some cases also be applied to solo or small group play. The first of these basic principles is, of course, counterplay. This is one of the most basic and core mechanics to Overwatch, the ability to switch heroes in order to counter the other team. Let's take, for example, you're playing offense on a map and you're, let's say, Soldier 76. There's a Widowmaker on the other team that's completely and utterly destroying you and your teammates, and you don't have any answer for it. A good solution here would be to have somebody on your team, or you, it doesn't really matter, to switch over to something like a Diva or a Winston, somebody that can close distance quickly, get in her face, and effectively shut her down. Now, one thing you do need to consider when you're switching a hero out is that you don't leave your team in a bind as far as your entire composition is concerned. You're playing a Mercy, for instance, and you're the only person who's capable of healing, you're probably not the best choice to switch out or deal with that kind of situation. In that case, it would always be better if somebody who is designated as a flex, or somebody already filling that particular role of tank or otherwise to perform said switch, and not you. And this actually kind of segues into my next scenario for swapping heroes, and that's to flesh out your own team composition. I call this in particular complementary play. If you notice that your team is lacking in something it desperately needs, like healing or damage absorption, for example, and you won't be sacrificing vital assets such as healing for your team, it would be a good idea to switch over to fulfill that role. For example, and I'll go for the extreme here, you have a team of, say, 5 soldiers and a Lucio. That's great. You have an amazing amount of damage and some sustain, but you have no way of mitigating damage, so your soldiers, who inherently are squishy and highly susceptible to burst damage, are gonna die in probably 2 or 3 seconds. This would be a good opportunity for you to switch over to, say, Reinhardt or Winston, somebody that could prevent damage from being dealt, while still allowing your team to stand on the line and dish out their punishment. Of course, you shouldn't have one or two, or more than 1 or 2 people to swap, as then you'll be sacrificing way too much damage to push your objective. And if you have a group of 5 soldiers and 1 healer, you're probably going to have a bad time anyways, so let's try to avoid that. And now I'm going to move on to the third situation, and this is where it can get a little bit dicey. This is a situation that takes enormous communication on you and your team's part in order to do successfully, and if done properly, is where you'll end up winning most of your engagements, your chokes, and your games all around. I'm talking about what I personally call the choke encounter. This is when you have a very, very tight choke, the team is just completely shutting you out, and there seems to be no way to break it without some sort of drastic measure. Take, for instance, you're trying to break through the defense on Temple of Anubis. On the second point, they have snipers, they have turrets, they have barriers, and they just have healing for days. Which, well, let's all face it, happens to us more often than we damn well would like. This is where switching becomes vital to the success of your team. This is an instance where solid communication, again, very, very vital. Alright, so for this situation, you'll have to change over to try to bust the enemy's defense, utilizing each of your teammates' strength in order to overcome the mounting obstacle in front of you. For the team I run with, and usually play with, this involves what we call a crash party, where we switch to a composition that dives into the enemy really quickly, causes all kinds of chaos, throwing the enemy team for a loop. Take, for example, switching over to a bunch of Winstons, a bunch of Reinhardts, Divas, Tracers, Reapers, guys that can, close the distance very quickly and just completely disrupt the enemy team. This particular one, it won't work for everybody. I get that, but it's one way that I found works when dealing with a deeply, deeply entrenched foe. So just to kind of briefly recap the 3 scenarios that you should consider switching out, you have your counterplay to counter what the other team is playing, complementary play in order to flesh out your own team, and the choke encounter, where you're faced with nigh insurmountable odds and need to take drastic measures in order to overcome what's in front of you. In these 3 situations, if you can master when and how to switch these, you're going to have a good time. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to find the game way more enjoyable, and especially if you don't stick to one role. That's one thing I should stress to people day in and day out. Don't stick to just playing Soldier, don't stick to just playing Reaper, don't stick to just playing Widowmaker. Diversify yourself. Learn how to play all the roles. Learn how to play them at least semi-decently well, and you'll be able to win games. And that's what we're all here to do, right? We're here to win. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and of course, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, I'm Chris Matrix. Stay awesome, Gotham.